emergence theorist makes a call to the emerging church. I have wanted to make this call for so long, and finally, Tony, I get to say it to you. And maybe somebody else is listening as well. For 15 years, I have worked with biologists on the newest area in the development of biology. This is called emergence in biology, or emergent complexity. And a number of us have now made the case with a fair amount of success that this is where the empirical work in biology is pointing. Emergence is the name of the game in biological sciences. And that's huge, Tony, because once that's the name of the game in how genes work, and how organisms work, and how groups of organisms work, and how whole ecosystems work, how culture can be emergent out of biological systems and can influence them. Our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions can be emergent out of our brain and have an influence on our brain. Our conscious desires and intentions, our will, our motives, our moral ideals can be emergent out of our brain and have an influence on how the thing programs itself, how the neuronal connections are made. Once that happens, Tony, you get a radically different picture of how the world works. And I'm now making the bold claim that this isn't just what I, as a Christian, hope is true. This is where the core research in biology is now pointing. Now, I want to suggest that this points up to a view of the world that's radically different than we had before. And to me, this seems like a complete opening to the approach to the church, which a lot of us are calling emergence, the emerging church. And so I want to know if you think this is true. And here's the claim. Instead of that modern world picture where everything was reduced down to a lowest level, and either genes or atoms or material did all the work, and everything else that happened to arise out of that was a mere epiphenomenon, a mere byproduct. We now have a world where it's what emerges out of the base that does the real world work, and that the emergent phenomena transform the bases that they arose out of. That the understanding of the natural world is a continual circling of new emergence, reinvigorating what it came out of. And that the social world is just the same way. Social structures, cultural ideas, individual visions will arise out of a cultural context and then transform the social world and the individuals who are a part of it. This whole process is now no longer capped at the top by some sort of naturalist cap so that the whole thing is a closed system, but it's actually open upwardly so that for those of us who believe there's a God, that God could be luring or pulling the whole process toward himself and thereby transforming the very physical and social structures that are present in that world. And I want to know what it would mean, in your view, Tony, to develop a theology, a practical theology, forms of ministry, an understanding of the church, an understanding of the Christian life, an understanding of our relationship to God that was based on that sense of constant emergence, constant newness, an open-ended process that has no limit on where it can go. And I want to ask you, if this sort of worldview, which I'm claiming is now the best that the philosophers of science and the biologists have to offer, if this new worldview might work hand in hand with emergent Christians, emerging theologies, and the emergent church. And so I want to know, Tony, can you make any use of this new worldview in your ministry? Let me know.